This one day is when my life changed. It's when I learned everything that I had been going through. It was now on October, and I was still going for that attachment. And I became so tired of feeling this way. This is when it hit me so hard that there was something really wrong with me. I went through primary, experiencing this type of extreme fear, primary. High school, I went through the same. College, and now still at work, I'm still feeling extreme fear. For me at that time, I still thought that it's only fear. I never knew that it was social anxiety. This one day I came to work as normal, and before I could enter even the office, anxiety that day was so high. I was trembling, shaking. I was feeling nausea, dizzy. I felt as if I was going to fall down. I think that day my anxiety attacks were so bad, to a point I couldn't enter the office like that. I knew I couldn't make it. So I started crying. I didn't know what to do. I took my phone and I called my aunt. And I told her, "Auntie, I want to see a counselor." I remember my aunt told me to calm down. And my aunt told me that she was going to look for a counselor. She was going to search for a counselor so that I would go to a counseling session. And the moment my aunt told me that, I hung up the phone and I somewhat felt a little bit relieved, because I knew that it was time I see a counselor. It was time I get help. I was tired of always suffering alone, always feeling this way. This anxiety, this fear was limiting me. It was limiting my growth in life, career-wise. It was affecting all areas of my life. So I knew it was time I get help. And the moment I was seated in that chair of that counseling office, when you go to a counseling session, you are always given a form where you have to fill in the details, what has brought you here. And I remember the first thing I wrote was, what has brought me here is fear. I only wrote the word fear in capital letters. And when we went to the counseling room and we sat down, the counselor asked me, "Jacinta, you've come here because of fear." Yeah, and I just opened up to that counselor everything that I had never told anyone. I told her how my life has been full of fear, extreme fear all the time, feeling fearful, doing everything. I also told her how I've always feared boys, men, guys, all ages. And I cried that day, and I remember the counselor even telling me, "Jacinta, from the way you are crying, the pain is coming from deep within you." I was in so much pain that day because I was tired of always feeling this way, and I couldn't figure out what was really wrong with me. And from then, the counselor told me to write a journal of everything that I was going through. And every Saturday, I used to go for the counseling sessions. But after 3 Saturdays of counseling sessions, I felt that I'm not getting help. The counselor is only advising me, telling me to do this, to change my thoughts, think positive, do things this way, but I felt it was not helping me. Remember, during the week, I'm still going to attachment. I'm still going to work. So during the weekdays, I'm still feeling the same anxiety, the same fear all the time. And I felt, the counselor, after 3 weeks, and I'm paying, and the counselor is not helping me. No, I'm going to quit. And I told my aunt that I was now okay. Remember, I'm not okay. I've not yet been helped, but I didn't know what to do. I had to end the counseling sessions because I felt that my aunt is paying for those counseling sessions and I'm not being helped. My family members are paying. My dad, they are removing their own money, paying for me, and I'm not getting help. And I didn't know. The worst of all, I couldn't bring myself to tell my family members. It was so hard for me. Like, how was I going to tell them that I'm always feeling fear? You see, they won't get me. They will just tell me, calm down, you'll get over it, try and be confident, be bold. So it was so hard for me. And I quit going to the counseling sessions after 3 weeks of going for it. I still continued with my attachment, still suffering the same way. Let me tell you, my attachment days nilikuwa navumilia. You know, kuvumilia, the way you can vumilia something, that's how my life was during attachment. I was always suffering, but navumilia, because I knew if I quit this attachment, I won't proceed to that year. And me not proceeding to that year, I won't finish my course. And so I had to vumilia. I had no choice, because I didn't want to disappoint my family members. And this one day, that's when I discovered everything. It was on November date 6, 2018. I discovered it on my own. I even don't, up to now, I don't know how I discovered it on my own. I think it's God who helped me to discover it. Because I think God had seen how much I was suffering, to a point he now felt that it was time I discover what was really wrong with me all these years. That day, it was a normal Tuesday like any other, but that day, my co-workers and my boss had gone for a meeting. I was the only one remaining in that office, so I was told that I'm free to leave. I was the only one remaining, together with the person who was washing there and who was in charge of the office. So I was told that today you are free to leave. You can leave even at 2 p.m. You can leave early. But I told because I had my own laptop at that time, I told myself, let me stay and use this free Wi-Fi to watch things on YouTube. And something told me to go on YouTube, and I went direct to YouTube and I typed, why do I fear? Why do I always feel fearful? And I remember the thing that appeared there shocked me so much. I saw social anxiety documentary. That's the thing that appeared after I typed, why do I fear people? Why am I always feeling so fearful? I was so shocked. And I remember I pressed on that social anxiety documentary and I started listening to it from the beginning to the end. It really opened my eyes. I couldn't believe it. Everything they were saying in that video was what I had been going through all these years without knowing what was wrong with me. I couldn't believe it. Let me tell you, I watched it till the end, and when it was through, I went to the toilet. I went and sat down in the floor and I cried. I cried for about 20 minutes. I really cried. My handkerchief was so wet because of so much pain. I couldn't believe that. At that point, I was only 21 years. I couldn't believe that for almost 20 years, I had been living with social anxiety disorder, a mental health condition, and I didn't know that I had been suffering all these years, not even knowing what was wrong with me. I used to feel, yes, that there was something wrong with me. I used to feel that I can't be normal. I can't be that I'm always feeling so fearful, but I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was. So it tore me apart to discover it, and it even made me feel so mad at myself. You know, having a mental health condition is not something that is easy, because it comes off as something shameful. It's not something good. So it even lowered my self-esteem so much. I felt like a loser. I felt so much like a loser. And after I had finished crying, I went and packed my stuff and I went home. I remember even walking the streets in town. I was feeling dizzy, confused. I felt as if I didn't even have the strength to walk. My eyes were so red. I didn't know what to do. I felt as if I was going to go and be knocked by a car, because I couldn't accept that I have a mental health illness. It was so shocking for me. I couldn't accept it. I felt as if I was going to die. And I remember when I went home, I was taken to the hospital, and the doctor gave me a lot of medicine to take. But after 1 week, I was okay. After 1 week, I had already healed. But I remember my aunt telling me that, do you know that when we went to see a doctor, the doctor had told me that you need to see a psychiatrist. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. That when we went to the hospital with my aunt, the doctor noticed how anxious I was, and the doctor had recommended my aunt for them to take me to a psychiatrist, but they never did. So after going back to work, I decided to go and look for a psychiatrist myself. So I went online and I searched for a psychiatrist, and I came across this one psychiatrist. And what I did, I went and told my family members that I want to go and see a psychiatrist, and they agreed, and I was given money. And you know, in Kenya, one thing that makes people with mental health conditions not to go to seek help is because of the money. It's so expensive. Can you imagine going for one session to a psychiatrist was 3,000? One session, and it's about only 40 minutes. So that it was so hard for me, but I was given the cash. Thank God I was given the cash to go and see a psychiatrist. And I went on my own. The first session, and I went on my own. And I went and I sat down with the psychiatrist, and I explained to her everything that I was going through. She explained to me what social anxiety was all about. And then the psychiatrist, she just did it in general. She just explained it to me and told me how I was going to manage it, and she gave me these medicines. After getting out of there, I felt, I didn't feel as if the psychiatrist had helped me. According to me, I felt I had not yet gotten the help I needed, and I didn't know what to do. The medicine that I was supposed to take, I was supposed to take them for 2 weeks. And remember, I'm still going through the attachment. I have not yet finished my attachment. So every day as I used to go to work, I used to take that medicine in the morning and in the evening. And after taking that medicine for 1 week, it got to a point every time I'll come from work, I had to sleep because I was always feeling these headaches, extreme headaches. To a point I decided to quit taking those medicine. I decided to quit taking them, and also they were not helping me that much. I would still take those medicines, and each time I'll go to work, I'll still experience the same anxieties while doing everything. It was not easy for me. And I told myself that the next session when I go to the psychiatrist, what I'll do, I'll go with one of my family members. I was supposed to go with my dad, but that day my dad was busy. So we went together with my aunt. The psychiatrist was supposed to explain everything to my aunt. And that day I was a little bit happy because I felt finally my aunt was going, my family members, there would be someone to explain to my family members what I was going through. But when we went to that psychiatrist, we entered and we sat down. But how the psychiatrist explained to my aunt, she just said it in general. She didn't dive deeper into really what I was going through. And after about 30 minutes, we were out of there. I felt that I had not yet again gotten the kind of help that I need. After we got out of the psychiatrist's office, I remember I started crying. I really cried so much, to a point we had to go and sit somewhere so that I could cry and let it all out. And all the time my aunt was just there shocked, wondering what is wrong with Jacinta. She couldn't understand I felt she didn't understand what I was going through. The psychiatrist had not told her everything that I was going through, and now I was tired. I didn't know what to do, so I really cried. I cried for about 20 minutes, and after that we went and boarded a matatu. And when we were in that matatu, something told me that one day I'm going to write a book about what I've been going through all these years. It was not easy for me. I really felt so bad. And I told my aunt that she was the one who was supposed to go and explain everything to my family members, but I don't think my aunt went and told them. I think she went and Googled it, but they never understood what it was. So from that day, I never went to a psychiatrist up to now. I've always been struggling on my own, not knowing what to do, because I don't know what will help me with this social anxiety disorder of mine. I even don't know how I survived through that attachment for 3 months. It was so hard for me even to survive those 3 months in attachment. And when the attachment was finally over, I felt somewhat relieved. For a person with social anxiety disorder, working is a very big problem for them, not because they are lazy, but because of how much anxious they always feel just being around anyone, interacting with people. You are always feeling anxious while interacting with your coworkers, bosses, with anyone. It's always very, very bad. You even avoid job offers where you know you'll have to interact with people. It limits your career growth. For instance, me, the course I studied is not the course the course I studied is not what I'm doing right now, because what I studied, I can't do it at all. Even looking back, if I'm taken back before I even started college, if I had known what I really suffer from, I would never have done that college. It has really affected my work life. It has affected it completely. I can't do the work that I studied for. I can't pursue the career of the course that I did back in college. Like for now, the work I do, I don't interact much with people, but I still do feel anxious. For what? Being around my coworkers, being around just anyone. As we are working in the factory, as we are doing what we are supposed to be doing, I'm always feeling this self-conscious. I always feel as if my face looks, there's something about having social anxiety. You avoid eye contact with people. You always feel as if your face looks awkward, looks angry. Let me tell you, these masks, they've really come to help people with social anxiety, because you know, a mask, it's like it covers you and makes you become more confident. Even at work, most of the time you'll find me just wearing my mask, because I know whenever I remove my mask and I have to be in front of people, I always feel as if my face looks awkward. I always feel self-conscious, anxious. It's so bad. Every day for me is a struggle. Sometimes I feel so much anxious to a point I feel like quitting going to work. I feel like quitting going to work, but I know if I quit, people will view me as lazy. Especially my family members, they will see as if I'm lazy, I don't want to work, because they won't understand. You know, they just tell you, be bold, be confident. You're always told to be bold, be confident, but they don't know that for me to be bold and confident is very, very hard. I can't just be calm and concentrate on what I'm doing. I'm always feeling like I'm going to run away and never come back. Yani I'm always kuvumilia tu, because I know I have to work. I can't just stay at home. It's not easy for me. I think the best job that suits a person, that will be ideal for me, will be a job environment where I know I'll not have to interact or be around people all the time. Talking to someone only takes 10 minutes and I'm drained to the point I just feel like running away. It's talking to people extends a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. And you know one thing about having social anxiety, telling a person with social anxiety to calm down never helps them. Never tell a person with social anxiety to calm down. It will never help them. Sometimes you are told to changamka, cheer up. Most of the time I've been told to changamka. You look bored, changamka, cheer up. But that also doesn't help, because it's my anxiety that's making me to look bored, to look kama sija changamka. But deep within, I'll want to appear to changamka, to be cheerful. But it's very, very hard when you are around people. What you can do is just to support people with social anxiety disorder. Never judge them. Just be there to support them. Social anxiety has really affected my relationship. It's very, very hard for me to develop and keep friendships, romantic relationships. It's so hard for me even to date, to have friends. Up to now, I can tell you I have 0 friends. All my life, I've never had someone I can say is my friend. Not because I don't want to, because it's very hard for me to connect with people. I always find it hard for me to connect with people and interact with them. I've never had a friend. I've never been in a relationship up to now. It's always so hard for me, and it limits my growth. Even I have poor social skills because of that, because I don't interact so much with people. Most of the time, if I'm not going to work or I'm not going to some event that is important, you'll find me in the house, because it's always so hard for me to interact with people, even family members. So it cuts across all people. So it has really affected my relationship. For me, if I was asked what I wanted, I would really love to connect with people, to have friends, to be in a relationship, but it's always so hard for me. I've always tried, but I always find it so hard. At the end of it, I always feel so drained to a point I can't do it. What made me to come out and speak to the world about my condition living with social anxiety disorder? It's because of how much I've suffered all these years alone. In Kenya, this condition is not well known. People are out there suffering on their own. I know there are others who are like me here in Kenya, but for some, even they don't know that they have social anxiety. To them, they just think that they are just fearful, they are just anxious, they don't even understand what they are going through. I would like to tell you, if you are out there, don't worry. You are not alone. I also go through the same. And I've researched and I've found support groups, Facebook support groups of people that are not even in Kenya, that are in America, who are going through what I'm going through here in Kenya. But here in Kenya, I've not met anyone. If you are out there and you're going through what I'm going through, I'd really love to tell you that you are not alone. There are so many people like you who are going through the same. And if you are addicted to alcohol or drugs, because you take drugs and alcohol as a way of managing it, stop it. Alcohol and drugs has never helped social anxiety. I've also been tempted to use them, but I realized that if I use alcohol and drugs, I'll only become an addict to alcohol, to drugs, and I won't get help. For me, I've always been judged. I've always been labeled shy, quiet, sensitive, ongeangi na what you get. No one even one time has ever sat me down and asked me, Jacinta, why are you always like this? People tend to judge people for being the way they are. What you should do, if someone tells you that they are going through what I'm going through, what you can do is just be there to support them. If they tell you they are feeling anxious about doing something, do that thing for them or help them do it. If it's going for a social occasion and they have to go and they feel they'll not manage being on their own, go with them and be there to support them. No matter how awkward they'll behave, just be there to support them and to help them whenever they need your help. To my family members, I know you've always seen me as quiet. I know everyone knows that I'm quiet, that niko muoga, I'm fearful. Mi ni muoga, I'm maybe shy, but I've never shared with you what I've been going through all these years, because it's been so hard for me to share. Since the day I discovered, it's always been so hard for me to share it with you, because I knew you wouldn't understand it. And that's why I felt that this platform is the best for you to hear what I've been going through all these years. It's not been easy for me. What I need from you is for you to always be there to support me and to help me, for you not to judge me or say that I'm lazy, for you never to tell me that be confident, be bold, do this. I just need your support, for you to support me in this journey. For parents out there, you might be having a kid who is extremely shy, who is quiet, who doesn't talk that much, who is very fearful, and you wonder, okay, what's wrong with my kid? Why is my kid always like this? For children, it comes out as being extremely shy, quiet. They spend most of their time alone, never interact with people that much, clingy behavior, tantrums, crying when let's say when they are with a group of children or adults, they start crying. If you see those behaviors in your kids, take them for therapy. And also to parents, childhood trauma affects a child's growth. Childhood trauma is real. For parents out there, if your kid goes through a childhood traumatic event, take that child for therapy. Go and take that child for therapy, for help. Find help for that child. Like for instance, myself. Can you imagine if my parents, already they knew at 3 years I feared boys. Already they knew that I was always quiet, anxious, you get. But can you imagine if they took me for therapy? I'll not be where I am right now. So parents out there, never ignore. If you see a behavior in your kid that you feel is not normal, take your kids for them to be helped. If only people knew how much I wish I was normal like them, even for just one day, for me to feel how people feel confident while doing their normal activities. Sometimes I even just tell myself, if I could just be normal for one day and not feel anxious even for a day. Every single day I usually feel anxious. There's no day that have ended without me feeling anxious. Let's say today I've not gone for work. I'll still feel anxious. For what? Let me say I'm walking in the stairs and I know someone I know and I have to greet them and interact with them. I'll feel anxious. Let me say I'm going to a shop to buy something. I'll feel anxious going to that shop to buy something. The only time I don't feel anxious is when I'm alone in the house. And it's so bad. It's very, very scary to live with this condition. It's a very scary condition on the inside. It makes you a slave to your own self. Sometimes I usually feel as if my real personality is locked up in a box. And that box only opens up when I'm alone in the house. Because there are things I can do when I'm alone in the house. But when I'm around just anyone, no matter how much I'm used to you, I'll not do it. I feel as if I have this flat, boring personality. Yes, I know that I have a personality deep within, but it's as if it's always locked in a box. And it limits me so much. It limits how far I go in life. It's very, very hard to live with a condition that affects all areas of your life. Working, relationship-wise, school-wise, everything. Now, how will you survive even in this world? That's why even people get addicted to alcohol and drugs and all those things, because it's so hard. You find life so hard for you and you don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. Even me, most of the times I've always feel like giving up just in life, because I just sit down and I wonder, how am I going to survive in this life? What am I going to do? It can even make you commit suicide, because it's very, very hard. Let me say that what I can say, living with this condition is very, very hard. It's not easy. And for me to have been judged all my life, I know people will be shocked when they see me talking, because I have never told anyone about what I've been going through, because people always tend to judge you even when you tell them. People out there never judge someone. I know people have always talked against me. I've been talked about in a negative way by people, especially my college life. My college life was so hell. I've always been talked about. I don't even like meeting my college mates, because I know the image they were left about me, shy, anxious, ongeangi, na what you get, negative things. There's nothing positive about my life in college, and it really hurts me that people tend to judge people and laugh at people without knowing exactly what the person is going through. So people should stop judging people. Never judge someone unless you know their story. If you know you are out there and you are like me, I would really love for me to meet you, for us to make a support group where we can help each other, where we can meet, unwind, be ourselves around each other, not care about how people are going to view us. I would really love to meet other people who are like me, a person who I can tell everything that I've been going through. And also, it's not necessarily for people who have social anxiety. For people who have social anxiety, and also for people who are normal, anyone that's willing to connect with me and just be there to support me, to be friends with me, to be there to help me, I'm ready. And for those with social anxiety, reach out to me, and together we can help each other. We can create support groups. And also, help each other go further in life. And also, if there is anyone out there who can help me, maybe a psychologist or a person who knows what living with social anxiety is like, I'd really love to meet someone who can walk with me in this journey and help me. For people who are like me, know that you are not alone. Reach out to me and together we can help each other.